Most progress doesn't vanish. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't fail to happen. It just stops being noticeable. And because we equate noticeable with real, we assume nothing has changed. At the beginning of any change, everything is obvious. Effort feels heavy. Attention is sharp. Every action is deliberate. But as progress happens, something subtle changes. The effort required decreases. The behavior becomes familiar. The challenge feels normal. And normal doesn't register as progress. It registers as nothing. The brain flags what's new. It does not flag what's familiar. So when improvement turns difficulty into routine, the brain stops reporting it. Not because it doesn't matter, but because it no longer requires attention. That's how progress hides in plain sight. We expect progress to look like dramatic change, visible milestones, clear before and after moments. But most real improvement doesn't look like transformation. It looks like subtraction. Less effort, less hesitation, less recovery time, less internal debate. Those changes are quiet, so we overlook them. One of the clearest signs of progress is when something stops feeling hard. When difficulty disappears, we don't say, "I've improved." We say, "This must not have been that difficult at all." We revise the past instead of acknowledging growth, and in doing so, we erase our own progress. When improvement happens gradually, your internal experience doesn't shift dramatically. You still feel like you still notice imperfections, you still experience effort. So subjectively, it feels like nothing changed. Objectively, everything did. The gap between those two perspectives is where progress hides. As you improve, your baseline changes. What once felt demanding becomes expected. What once required focus becomes automatic. So instead of noticing progress, you raise your standard. You don't say, "Look how far I've come." You say, "This should be easier by now." That thought isn't criticism, it's adaptation. But adaptation conceals progress from the person adapting. The evidence of progress is usually indirect. It shows up as fewer mistakes, faster recovery, calmer reactions, smoother execution. But because these aren't dramatic, we don't count them. We're trained to look for outcomes, not friction reduction. So we miss what's right in front of us. When progress hides long enough, people assume it isn't happening, so they stop. They disengage. They loosen consistency. They abandon systems that were working. Not because change failed, but because recognition did. Progress often becomes visible only after it's complete. When someone points it out, when circumstances change, when a challenge that once overwhelmed you barely registers anymore. By then, the work is already done. You just didn't see it happening. The goal isn't to constantly evaluate progress. That creates pressure. The goal is to understand that lack of obvious change is not lack of change. Once you understand that, the urgency to feel progress disappears. And when that urgency disappears, consistency becomes easier. If progress feels invisible right now, that doesn't mean it's absent. It means it's blended into your daily life. And blending is the final stage of real change. Progress hides in plain sight because it doesn't want your attention. It wants integration. By the time improvement is obvious, it's already normal. And what feels normal now was once the thing you were working toward. You didn't lose progress. You became it. This is subtle logic.